Hi everyone. I want to show you how I graded all of your final draft essays, and I understand you worked really hard on those Tide planners and you transferred all of the information from your Tide planner into one strong academic paragraph. I used color when I graded all of your essays, so I want to review this sample essay using those same colors so that you can see how I checked for the components of a strong academic paragraph. So the first sentence is always the topic sentence. That's your lead sentence. And that's going to tell the reader exactly what you're going to talk about. So when I highlighted yours, I highlighted in green. So this is your lead. Now remember, the topic sentence has two parts to it. It has the main idea. So in this case, the author is going to talk about EltaMD UV Clear Facial Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF. So this author is talking about a specific sunscreen brand, and that was your assignment, to recommend a specific sunscreen brand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in bold just so that you can see this is the main idea. But you can't just have a main idea. You have to tell us what you're going to talk about within the paragraph, because the next part is your controlling idea, and the controlling idea dictates all of the details that you're going to put underneath. So in this case, this author specifically wants to talk about EltaMD being the best sunscreen for delicate skin. So I'm also going to bold that. So everything below here must prove your point that EltaMD is the best sunscreen for delicate skin. And I'm also going to italicize that just so that you can see the difference between the two. So the very first example was taken from the text, and that's your I. And you'll know it's an I right away because the author will be putting it in quotation marks. So I'm going to highlight this one because this is a direct quote from the reading, and I'm going to highlight that in yellow. So remember, a good academic paragraph has three I's, or three yellows. So the I can be direct quotations, but it also can be a summary of information that you learned from your reading. It can be an idea that you pulled out of an academic journal that was new to you. In this case, it's just a quote, and that's okay. It'll get more sophisticated as we move through the essays. So her first I is a quote that says, dermatologists recommend using an SPF of at least 30. And they also go on to say that if you use at least a 15, it blocks about 93% of UVB rays. Now that's the dermatologist's recommendation, and it came right from the text. But now you have to elaborate, because remember, you're proving that EltaMD is the best sunscreen. So does EltaMD meet the American Dermatological Association's recommendations for SPF? Well, let's see. It says EltaMD UV Clear Facial Sunscreen holds an SPF of 46. So yeah, they went ahead and they supported their position that EltaMD is a great sunscreen, and it's a great sunscreen because it's backed by dermatologists' recommendations. So I'm going to highlight that in like this orange color, or more of a brown. For your papers, I used a different color, and it's just the tool that I was using. I didn't use brown, I used more of like an orange. So we have green topic sentence, always the first sentence. I is information from the text. D is information from your head. Now this author goes on and explains a little bit more. So the author talks about SPF being perfect for somebody with gentle skin because it blocks a higher percentage of the sun rays. So this is more of her D, so I'm going to highlight that. As this author goes on, they put in a transition to say furthermore, which signals to me there's another big idea coming. So I'm going to highlight that for you. And here's the next big idea. They're using quotation marks. If you have acne or oily skin, you want to use a sunscreen that's labeled non-comedogenic. So here you go. I'm going to highlight this because this is your second I. But you have to explain that, and explain it specifically related to EltaMD. And this author goes on to say, One skin type is a significant factor impacting one's choice of sunscreen. All skin is different and requires different formulas and ingredients. Clearly, Elta MD is perfect for sensitive, acne-prone skin. So again, this information here is her D. It's her detailed analysis of the quote, and it also goes on to prove that Elta MD is best for delicate skin. So I'm going to highlight this brown, and you're going to start noticing patterns. We have a bright green for topic sentence. You have an I for information from the text, but you can't leave that hanging. You have to explain that, and that explanation has to relate to your topic sentence. Then there's another instance of an I and some more detailed analysis below it. Next big transition word I see is additionally, and that's signaling to me that there's going to be another piece of evidence that's coming. And this evidence came from the ADA, and it says that ADA recommends that's one that's labeled broad spectrum, which means it can protect your skin against UVA and UVB rays. So here you go. Here is her second I. Notice that in parentheses, there is an author and a page, and that's an MLA required format for anything that you're going to lift directly from somebody else's, from another text or from somebody else's words. You'll always want to put it in quotes, followed with a citation. Finally, there's another transition here, but the transition isn't going to signal another quote. Instead, it's going to signal an explanation and a defense of Elta MD. And what the author says is, most importantly, sunscreen must protect against dangerous waves, and undoubtedly Elta MD UV clear sunscreen can accomplish this task, for it says it in its name. So here is her D. And if you notice, there's one I and there's an explanation. There's a second I and there's an explanation or detailed analysis. There's a third I and a detailed analysis. And then she closes out. When applied with proper care, you can be sure you'll have a lower chance of getting sunburn, skin cancer, wrinkles, etc. In the end, all the benefits surrounding sunscreen should be good enough reason to practice the daily use. And this is her ending. This is her closing. So what she did was she went back to her topic sentence and said, Elta MD is a great sunscreen because it's going to protect the delicate layer of the skin. And in conclusion, the author says the same exact thing, but it's worded very differently. So think of it like a sandwich. You're opening up with your topic sentence is going to be driving all of the details, and the conclusion or the ending is going to be wrapping up everything that was said. So that's the structure of how I'll be grading your paragraphs from here on in. And for this particular essay, that's really the only thing I looked at because we're still building. Next time, I'll be looking for other pieces, like making sure that you have transitions in there to make sure that MLA formatting is there. And we'll move on to different competencies as we move through the writing process. So I hope this was helpful to you. Do a check before you turn in your final essay. It's due Sunday night at midnight. Let me know if you have any questions.